Doug Becker,
Yes, sir.
dude, you're on.
Can you actually hear me?
I can hear you great, bro. I can hear you great. So let me,
I'm looking at your screen here. That's kind of unbelievable looking.
yeah, it's a little bit professional, but, I do a lot of webinars, so I figured I might as well get some studio lights and a green screen behind me so I can put anything back there.
Hey, is that actually a microphone up there right
So
above your head?
actually, this is,
What is
this,
that?
this is how I share my whiteboard. So this is, let me show you what that looks like.
Oh, that's like a video thing.
Yeah, it's a camera, so I can do stuff on here. So that's so that I don't have to buy that mega $5,000 screen thing that Andy has in this DWC. But I like drawing stuff on whiteboard. I'm a whiteboard guy. So anyway, well, man, let me give you a proper introduction. So Doug's been with us, what, 13 years?
12 years last month.
12 years last month, and he's my man. Doug and I spent some time out there in California. I stayed at his house and just had a wonderful time with him. He's like the best host. So if you ever want someone to take you a tour around, he took me to the Oakley factory store, which is no longer there, I understand. But we had a lot of fun, man. We had lunch on the beach, and he's just one of the coolest guys that you'd ever want to meet. I mean, I grew up in California, so he and I were like totally simpatico. And then, and I'm really good friends with George Wilson, his upline. And George and I are just tight too. So it was kind of like, man, these guys are like my age group. But Doug has been a consistent mega producer. He's in the top 20 producers in the Alliance consistently every year. He's got a wonderful family. Talk about like, man, when I grow up, I want to be like Doug because he's got grandkids, his kids, they're all just really tight. They do stuff together. He's a great example of a father. I mean, when I think about great fathers in the Alliance, I think about Doug Becker because he just loves his kids, loves his grandkids. His wife's awesome. And we spent a little bit of time out in Greece together. We're just one of my best buddies. And so I heard when Doug did the webinar for Carrie team, talking about how he books appointments. It's like, oh man, of all the years I've been in this thing, I've been wanting to get Doug on my call, and it just inspired me again, man. Why you're so awesome at what you do. So man, I appreciate you, Doug, spending time with us and getting up early, and doing this for us. So man, why don't you introduce yourself and talk about kind of your background, and then what led you to get to contact George and Penny Wilson to get in this thing.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on here. It's actually, I think I'm a legend in my own mind, actually. Here I'm looking at your screen, and there's like a lot of people on there. It's pretty unbelievable. So good for you. I was looking at your leaderboards. That's kind of awesome. So here's a background for me. I'm a grandpa, 2.5 grandkids. My oldest daughter is 32. I have 4 kids. The grandkids are 10 months old, and she's 8 months pregnant. So go figure that one out.
Wow.
Pretty humble. Oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Check it out, bro.
I can't believe you. Where was that? I don't even know. Is that a boat?
Yeah, it's on the ship. It was one of the cruises. In fact, I can't remember which one. It was the big, big, big boat.
That was Oasis of the Seas?
Yes, yes.
Oh my God, I look like a dork in that picture.
Well, your hair's kind of short, so that was about the only thing I would say.
My hair is incredibly much longer than that right now. But
yeah.
On that trip, I had all 4 of my kids on that boat.
Yeah, oh man.
There were 6 of us. That was 2014. That was my Christmas card in 2014. Was at some bar on that boat, that ship. Pretty unbelievable. Oh my gosh, so that's what I look like. Yeah, well, I'm a lot older now. I got a little bit of gray hair going. That was 6 years ago.
Was it that long ago? I couldn't find any current pictures. So
I swear it was June. Let's see, June 14th, 2014 was the Christmas card picture day. I don't even
Oh,
know why I remember that. But that's what it was. So
but
I'm sitting out here. Okay, so that's my background. You can see I'm kind of an old dude. I got into this 12 years ago. What I did before that for 30 years when I left college, when I graduated, I was in the apparel business out here in Southern California as a surf designer in the surf industry and in women's wear until 12 years ago. And I found this accident. I didn't actually find it. Somebody invited me to go see Andy out in Ontario for 5 consecutive months. This guy asked me to go meet Andy, a friend of mine from high school. It was just a random way I found my friend in high school.
wow.
I was 51 at that time. So do the math. I'm 63 right now. Unbelievable. So I went and met Andy in August of 2007, reluctantly, did not want to go, did not want to sell insurance, thought it was a stupid business, honestly. And I met him and I sat in the back row at a hotel in Ontario, California. And by the end of our meeting, I was in the front row because I couldn't believe what he said. I just didn't believe that you could make money in the insurance business and you didn't have to look like a dork to sell it. And you didn't have to wear a tie and you didn't have to drive a Chevy. And I kind of went, wow, I might be able to do that. So I came home that night and I told my wife, hey, I think I'm going to do this. And she just said, you've got to be kidding. Really? So I got my license in 6 days and now I'm talking to you guys. So it's kind of unbelievable how that happened.
Wow.
That's quick background right there. So this is all I've done for 12 years. And I just treat it like it's still a job. It's just kind of my own thing. And if I don't do it, nobody's going to yell at me or scream at me. I'll just be broke and divorced. So you just got to do it. And that's what I did 12 years ago.
So,
I had no choice.
yeah, that's interesting. By the way, gang, I mean, he doesn't really, he kind of speaks about his background, but he had his own clothing line, gang. My daughter was getting into fashion design until she decided to become an actress. So, I was talking to Doug about it, and he had his own clothing line, like his own brand of clothing line, and was doing a lot of great things in the fashion merchandising industry. And then to come over to being an insurance agent, tell us about that transition when you had never sold insurance before. You'd been in kind of the fashion merchandising, talking to bigwigs there, and then going into people's homes. Tell us about your transition from that to going into people's homes.
Well, it was pretty unbelievable. I was petrified. I was scared. I didn't really know how to do it, obviously. Nobody that gets into this business really knows how to do it. But I went from selling, Macy's and Nordstrom and appointments like that, Dick's Sporting Goods, a bunch of people I would go visit. I would have designed the product and I'd take it in there and show it to them and try to get them to buy it. And that's really difficult, incredibly difficult. And in my business then, just to kind of give you a transition, look at everybody out there, look at your living room in your mind. And my living room, or that space, was filled with fabric times 10 in my warehouse. And I had to buy the fabric and the buttons and the patterns and work the production space and finance it. And I had to do all that stuff. And then when I closed it and I had no money, I was broke. My kids were at that time 13 to 18. So they were junior high and high school, and I had no money and a lot of credit card debt from paying off the fabric. I did all that myself, just a couple employees, really. And when that ended, it was like, oh my God, now what? And Andy changed my attitude about it, because when he said you could make, $400, $600, whatever it was, per sale, I did the math so fast in my head and said, well, what's my inventory situation? He goes, well, none. So I went from hundreds of thousands of dollars of fabric and buttons to no investment virtually, except my license, maybe some leads. And then I sold off all my fabric. I sold off everything for pennies on the dollar. And then I got into a business where I just figured if I could entertain people, they'd buy from me and I didn't have to buy anything. I thought that was kind of awesome. So I could make a lot more money with very little investment versus what I had done for virtually 30 years. So that to me was really appealing.
That's awesome.
And I kind of figured if I invested, you know, one roll of fabric, and I would buy 300 rolls at a time times 5 different styles. One roll of fabric might be $150. And you multiply 150 times 20 rolls, and you have an investment of $3,000, and you don't even know what you're going to make out of it. Versus, what if I spent that $3,000 and I got leads and I could make that $20,000? I looked at that. That's just an example. I never spent that kind of money on leads, but I looked at that and went, oh my God, I might be able to do that with very little investment. And the investment was me copying people. And I said, I can do that. I can talk to people. I'll learn how to do it the right way. And I just did it because I had no choice. I'm looking at my desk right here, and you can't see the video or anything of me, but I went to school in Berkeley, and that's California, Berkeley, all
Go
the
Cal.
hippies, all that good stuff.
Go Cal.
Yeah. And I got my Cal hat right here on the table, a couple of them, and I still look like I go there. And you know, a good thing about what I look like, nobody cares. Nobody cares in the house at all. They just want me to give them what they're looking for. That's it. But when I left Cal, I didn't want to read any more books, too many textbooks. And Andy said, you have to read books. And I resisted that. Well, I read them all the time now. And I'm looking on my desk right here. You can't see it, but I don't know if any of you guys know what a library is, but that's a building in your town where you go and they have a whole bunch of books and you can withdraw them for free as opposed to buying them. So I go to the library all the time. I'm kind of being facetious about that because nobody ever goes to the library to buy Amazon books. So I'm looking at a book that I got a couple weeks ago at the library, and it's called The Power of Broke. And you'll never believe who wrote this book. But I saw it, and I picked it up, and I read it in the gym every day for like an hour on the treadmill. So the guy who wrote it is Damon John. That's the guy on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
The fabric guy. And I'm reading it about how broke this guy was. I'm probably halfway through it right now. So things like that kind of get you motivated to do what you're supposed to do. Andy's got a huge library of books, you know, on the website, but I just go down and get them for free out of the library. I'll just go find the same book. It's kind of unbelievable what this guy says in there. But he turned $40 into $6 billion.
Jeez.
That's billion, like with a B, like Becker, you know?
Wow.
It's unbelievable. So I only read books really early in the morning at the gym before I play basketball. That's just my deal. And yesterday when I go virtually every other day. So yesterday I'm reading that book for like about an hour, and I got my headphones on, listening to music at the same time. I don't recommend anybody do that, but that's just what I do. So when the songs come on, and like Alex said, well, what's your mindset? Well, the mindset, this is it every day. So I got to get motivated some way every day, because who else is going to motivate you? Who's going to motivate me besides my family and my ability to make money or not make it? So you got to motivate yourself. So how do you do it? I just kind of follow the system. I'll just select some of my own books sometimes. I'll listen to some of my own music sometimes, or all the time. So at the gym with the music on, you know, it's 4-minute songs. Well, on my iPod, I don't listen to Spotify. It's an iPod. I'm an old guy. So on that, there's song after song after song. Well, sometimes Napoleon Hill comes on there and it's an hour lecture. And I'll just fast forward. I won't even listen to that. For an hour at the gym, I don't want to listen to that at the gym. But I'll listen to 4-minute songs for, an hour or more. So yesterday, the one that comes on after a One Republic song or Empire of the Sun or whoever it is, Andy comes on. For real, on the iPod, I got a whole bunch of them on there. And his little 5-minute is like a song. It's called You Can't Be Perfect. That was the title of his 5-minute deal. And I'll listen to those when they come on instead of fast forwarding. So I'm listening to him and I'm reading The Power of Broke, and it turns, and that's it. That's at 5:30 in the morning. And that becomes a really good beginning of my day. Every day. Or every other day when I'm at the gym. I wasn't there today, but I'll read that book tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So Andy, in his book, this is like your mind. What's your mindset? Well, this is like my mindset. And he says, you can't be perfect. Sometimes you say bad things, you say the wrong things to the wrong people, whatever it is. He goes, just get over it, give yourself a break and move on. I listen to that and go, that's kind of awesome. Just kind of move on and just keep doing what you're supposed to do. And that's kind of what it is. So I understood that in his mind 12 years ago. And I was willing to take a leap of faith and just do what he said. And I've done that ever since. I keep a pretty low profile. I don't do social media. I just do my own thing. And I just do what he said 12 years ago, and I just don't change it. And I'm just kind of lecturing here. I'm just looking at that picture of me on the screen. Can't believe it. And that's like, I still have that same stupid shirt. And I wear that shirt to my appointments. That's what I look like in my appointments, except my hair is 4 times longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, but my God, you just got to motivate yourself somehow.
Yeah. It's, I think that's the biggest thing that I hear from agents, dude, is they say, man, I just can't get motivated. And I don't know when they say that to me, I don't know what they want me to say. Because I'm like you. I mean, I'm not a kick butt manager. I don't kick anybody's butt. It's like, I mean, I know you could do it. It's just, then the question is, why aren't you? What I love about what you said on that booking appointments thing you did for the carries was you treat this like a job. It's like you get fired from any job if you continue to not work the way that agents have not, that agents don't work, you'd be fired. But because it's your own business, you don't fire yourself. But I like the way you kind of talk about that mindset of treating it like a job. So when kind of from that work ethic perspective, you very consistent. What are your goals every week that you got to do? And if you don't do it, then, you'll die trying to do it. Like, what is that for you? Because like I said, I know you're in the top 20. You're like, I think last time I looked at the end of October year to date, you were like number 50 in the Alliance total production, issue paid production. So, we've got a few months left, but you've been very consistent. What is your key to maintaining consistency?
Well, that's a really good question. Actually, for me, it's every new agent out there has a fear. I don't know what that sound is. It's not me. Whatever that is, I can hear something. It's not me. Yeah. Everybody has a fear. And you have to look at what your fear is to then be consistent after that. My fear is that book. It's The Power of Broke. It's the fear of poverty. Really, that's what it is. When you go to a job, you're going to get paid every Friday or every other Friday, whether you're good or you're not good. And in this job, you only get paid if you're good and you do what the work is. So for me, that's the motivating factor right there. If you don't do it, you're not doing it. And just shoot yourself. I mean, seriously, I hate to say that, but if you don't do the work, you're not going to make any money. So you have to treat making money like it's a job, just like if you're going to go work at Kohl's or Dillard's or Staples or whatever you're going to do. If you hire on with one of those stores, they say, show up at 8 o'clock and leave at 5. And they give you your schedule. And if you don't show up in that time frame, 3 days in a row, they fire you. So when you're in this job, you got to show up every day in your schedule, just like at Kohl's, or you're going to fire yourself. So you got to look at, what do you do every day? Do you have a schedule that makes that work for you? And if you don't have a schedule, then just fire yourself. So a schedule for me, it sort of changes, but over the course of a year, it doesn't really change. I'm traveling on, I'm going to tell you right here. I mean, what are you guys doing in 2 weeks from Friday? Do you even know? I don't know if you know or you don't know. I'm traveling. I'm getting my rental car on the 20th. It's in my phone. The 20th. Today is, I don't even know what day it is today. Today is the 12th. So I get my rental car, on the 21st. I'm gone for that weekend before Thanksgiving. Every single year, that weekend before Thanksgiving, I do a road trip for business. Every year. I'll write $20,000 on that weekend. 15,000, 20,000, that's my goal. I know that. And I know backing up from there when I have to dial to make that weekend work. So I ask you guys out there, do you know what you're doing tomorrow? Do you know what you're doing a week from Friday? I mean, I do, because that's a schedule, just like if you're at the job. So you got to set that schedule, and you just have to transition from whatever you were at before to here, and just plan out 40 hours in the week or 35 or whatever that is, and just do what you have to do. And Alex, you can just ask a question in there, but I'm going to give you an example or any questions that you have. My Saturday, I'll tell you about like Saturdays in general for me. I'll dial, if I'm not traveling for appointments, I will dial from 9 o'clock till 12 or 12:30 every single Saturday. Every single Saturday. And I dial on Saturdays because Jason Carey 10 years ago said, hey, why don't you dial on Saturdays? I said, well, why would I do that? It's Saturday morning. Everybody's asleep. He goes, no, everybody's home Saturday mornings. I go, 8 o'clock? Don't they get pissed off if you call at 8 o'clock? He goes, no. They're home. They're drinking coffee. They're all happy. The work week's over. So 10 years ago, I start dialing Saturdays. So here's how a Saturday goes. What's your Saturday look like? So I'm up at 4:30 or 5. I'm in the gym. I'm reading the book. I'm listening to music. I play basketball at 6:30 till 8:30. I come home and I eat. I don't shower. That's disgusting, but I don't. Then I get on the phones at 8:30 or 9. I turn on ESPN Sports Center game day, and I dial the stupid phone until 12:30, regardless of the outcome. So last Saturday, I dialed from 9 to 12:30. I got 6 contacts and no appointments on Saturday. And that's devastating. Oh, well, not really, because you don't always do good every day. And I kind of went, okay, well, that sucked. Okay, so what? So last night I made 6 appointments in an hour. Well, that's the job. Good results, bad results, the results don't matter. You just got to do the process and stay in your schedule all the time, regardless of what happens. So Saturday was really bad. It was just, that was the day at the job. That was the 3.5 hours on the job that I scheduled, and it wasn't really good. Okay, so what? So last night, the 2.5 hours I spent dialing the phone, I made 6 appointments. That's the job. And you got to treat it like it's a 1-year baseball schedule. And some days are good, and some days are bad, but you play the whole season and you go to the World Series. And that's my mindset. And then I'll throw this back to you in a second. Sports page. If anybody gets the newspaper, the actual newspaper delivered on your driveway, I do every day. Yesterday, Kawhi Leonard. I'm a big sports guy. Kawhi Leonard's on the Clippers. They won last night. He had a pretty off night. Here's the second paragraph in the paper. So put this into you guys' business. Think of what this guy says. Here's just one paragraph. Emotionally, the star forward was never too high and never too low. And as the most valuable player of an NBA Finals, he'd seen nearly everything. So he had just an off night last night, and they won by 10. And he goes, I wasn't that good. Tomorrow's another day. Well, my Saturday was horrible. I wasn't that good. Tomorrow's another day. And I did good. And if you can think like that, it doesn't really matter what happens. That's what my mindset is.
I love it. It's like you were talking about, you got to dial 10 hours. If you don't put 10 hours in dialing, you'll never get to your 15, 20 appointments. So when are you going to schedule your 10 hours? I mean, I just love when you said that on your webinar. So tell me about, like, are you getting leads, or like, what is your typical kind of lead week? Like, you get leads, you do referrals. What is your typical sourcing of dialing?
It's a good question. I get leads every week, every single week. And I get about 20 A leads every week, forever. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Well, they always work if you do the work. Sometimes you get more appointments, sometimes you get less. Doesn't matter. So out of those 20 A leads every week, now think of the mindset. I used to spend tens of thousands of dollars on fabric every month. So me spending money on leads, which is way less money than fabric, to me is no big deal, because I know I can turn them into a decent profit every time if I do the work. So for a week, I'll get 20 leads every week. They will be locations A, B, and C. Okay, what does that mean? Well, I live in Orange County in California, south of Los Angeles County, and I have 3 locations where I get leads. Orange County, LA County, and another region that I travel to every single week for 12 years. So location A, I'll work every week. Location B, LA County, which is 60 miles away or 3 hours, depending on the traffic. And then location C, I go to next week. So those leads have built up for 1 month. I went to this location October 1st, and I wrote $15,000. So since October 1st, the leads in that general area have been building up, and I haven't even called them, and I'll start calling them tomorrow. And that's where I'm going to be in 10 days from now. So every week I get 20 A leads. Do you have to get 20 A leads? Of course not. That's what my business model is. 20 A leads is the same equivalent as 150 A1s, A2, A3s. We all know what the percentages are of success on dialing. You just have to know what your expectation is when you get certain kinds of leads. So I dial those every week, 10 hours a week, sometimes 9, sometimes 15. It just depends on how the week goes. Just like baseball. Sometimes you get hits, sometimes you don't, but you play all 162 games, and then it turns out really good at the end. But in the middle, you have good days and bad days. So what? Just move on, like Kawhi Leonard said. It's not always good. You just strive to make tomorrow better. That's what Andy said on his little You can't be perfect. Just make tomorrow better. If today wasn't good, make tomorrow better. I don't drive with a rear view mirror. So if I have a bad day, oh well, move on, kind of like that. So 10 hours a week dialing. When do you do that? 2.5, 3 hours on a Saturday, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, period. That's what I do. Then I run my appointments 2 days a week.
What are you running?
Sundays, it just kind of depends, but you got to be consistent. And it can kind of change from week to week a little bit, but not a lot. It's like a job.
That's so cool.
I don't know if that answered the question. I just get on a roll. I'm looking at myself. I can't believe that's me.
That is good stuff. So, so out of 28 leads, like typically, how many appointments do you think you're running every week then? Just ballpark it.
I'll run 10, 20 A-leads. If I don't get 10 appointments out of 20 A-leads, I will shoot myself. And I'll do the work to get those at least 10 appointments out of those 20 A-leads. Is that pretty consistent? Yeah, pretty consistent. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 12. On the first pickup, that's important. On the first pickup or contact, if I don't get an appointment on the first contact, my percentages drop in half. So if somebody picks up the phone and it's an A-lead and they don't set an appointment with me, the chances of me setting that appointment with that person down the road really drops off. So I got to be really good on the phone. And that's really the job. It's really a job. Whether it's setting appointments or you're recruiting, that first phone call is so important. And you have to practice to be really good doing that. That's the skill level, is doing that. That's it. If you can master that, you can make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah. So 20 A-leads is 10 appointments, 9 appointments, 8 appointments, 11 appointments, whatever it is. Then you get referrals out of those. Those come down the road, obviously.
So I love your style in the home. You're very you're very conversational. Like I love when you say you're just trying to be a normal guy, and that's something that came through on that webinar you did for the carriers, is just be a normal guy. And you seem to have this. And I was talking to Jason Carey about you. He goes, "You're the most assertive, laid-back guy he knows. Like you tell the client what's going to happen, and I don't think you could do that unless they totally trust you." So tell us, how do you do that? How do you create that rapport in the home where they're just, you direct them to you lead them? That's what Carrie said, that you have this way of leading them to what they need to do because you just have created such a trust level. Like, what is your mojo, man?
It's kind of funny. If you go back 12 years, we didn't really have a really good system.
Right.
It was duplicatable, but there was nothing to duplicate except a phone script. And what do you really do in the house? I don't know. George Wilson and I had no clue really what to do, and we just kind of bounced things off each other. I was having so many problems in the house 12 years ago, closing people. I didn't know why. And it took me so many failures to kind of figure out that it's a blind date. That's what your appointment is. It's a blind date. And go back to your dating years, all you guys collectively, and say, have you ever been on a blind date? God, I was on a bunch of them. You have 2 minutes to impress that girl at the restaurant. That's it. She's going to decide in 2 minutes, or he, if you're going to see him again, based on what you look like, how you act, how you carry yourself. And it's the exact same thing in the appointment. So years ago, I would go into the appointment and not think like that. And I sold some, I didn't sell some. 20% of the people are going to buy from you, even if you're a moron. And 20% of the people are not going to buy from you, even if you're the best person in the world. It's the 60% in the middle where the skill level is. And you can make a lot of money dealing with that 60% in the middle. So what I said to myself is, well, I'm a nice guy, but people don't really know that. And you have to build that rapport when you're in the house. So I treat it like a blind date. I show up at the door. They got 2 minutes to like me or not like me. And the only reason they're not going to buy from me is one of two reasons, period. I either confused them or they don't like me. And it's definitely not going to be because they don't like me. So what do I do to make them like me? Well, I think I'm a likable, normal guy. So what I do, a little different, I have an ATM. Well, if you look at the ATM, there's like 3 pictures in the ATM of you. And they've got to understand who you are with 3 pictures. And I went, 12 years ago, we didn't have an ATM. I go, these people aren't going to understand who I am unless I have a picture show. So for 12 years, I have a laptop. And as you're looking at the picture of me and my wife in front of that Cagney's, I've got 1,400 pictures on my laptop that scroll in the appointment, every single appointment for 12 years.
Wow.
Plus the ATM is next to it. And I set people up. I mean, this is a job, right? This is sales. You're in sales, you're not in customer service. Customer service is sales where somebody calls you and you just take an order. This is not that. You have to build a rapport. So I build rapport. So you guys are looking at the picture of me and my wife and you have an opinion, whatever it is. Oh, he looks old. What's that shirt? Oh, she looks kind of hot. What's her necklace? Or whatever it is, you're looking at that picture. Well, I got 1,400 pictures. They scroll every 4 seconds. And in the appointment at the kitchen table, and this is like choreographed for real. I sit down, say it's a rectangular kitchen table. I sit down and I put the wife at the head of the table. So she's next to me, let's say on my right. The husband's across from me. To my left is my computer. And I open it up and it aims at the woman. So she's looking up and she looks at my computer scrolling 1,400 pictures of my family. And invariably she'll say, well, who's that? Well, those are my grandkids. And then that opens up a conversation about, well, how many grandkids you got? Or what's that a picture of? Oh, that's one of my clients' old cars or their motorcycles or their bow and arrow or whatever I take a picture of. And somebody can connect with that picture and I got a story about it. So people sit at the table the way I want them to, and I want them to look at my family and go, he's a good guy. He's got a good family. He really cares about me. Whether I say it or not, the pictures say that. And the woman and the husband, they'll always say, what's that a picture of? My oldest daughter's a nurse, and she sends me pictures of nasty surgeries, like disgusting. I have them on there. And these pictures of open abdomens and everything show up. And boy, don't they ask questions about that? That makes me a real person. So I use pictures to tell 1,000 stories because it's all about connecting with people.
Wow.
Rapport for me is really like an hour in the house because my pictures scroll for an hour. And I only use I don't use phone tools for quoting. I don't even like the word quoting. I have it all on my computer. So my computer is a slideshow and a calculator. And I use the calculator for like 1 minute. That's it. Because I want them to like me. It's a blind date. That's what it is. So let's show them your whole family. That's what I do. My agents don't all do that because they just don't do that. But it works for me. That's how I build rapport. Another thing that I do, I'm just kind of going off here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was in a house a couple weeks ago. It was before Halloween. It's a blind date. Don't forget that. So I walk into the house. I'm wearing that shirt. I'm wearing shorts and Vans. That's it. This lady makes $400,000. She's a doctor, and that's what I look like. So I walk in, and she has this incredible view. So right away, I go, oh my God, what a great view. We sit down at the kitchen table. Behind the kitchen table, there's a couple of pumpkins. So I look at her, I go, God, you got some pumpkins right here. I go, hey, sit down right over here, honey. And I point where she sits down, and she does. And I go, hey, you know what? Remember, it's rapport building, and I'm just having fun. So I said, okay, Halloween's in a couple of days. Do you have any clue what the top 10 worst Halloween candies are? Do you have any clue what those are? And my God, didn't we talk about that for 10 minutes? You know, the number one Halloween bad candy is candy corn. And we're just cracking up about that. Why isn't that lady going to buy from me? She's gonna, because we're having fun. Remember, it's have fun, make money, make a difference. So I just use the appointment as I'm Jimmy Kimmel and I'm doing a talk show. And they're going to buy something from me. I'm just going to have fun while I'm there. If they don't buy it from me, oh, well, so what? I go to the next appointment. Hope that helps.
Yeah, I love when you talked about that in that that webinar. You talked about being so the game show host analogy just was really poignant, I think, about how the reporters read the news and they're boring, but look at Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and James Corden, and they're entertaining. People are engaged with them, and I think that's kind of the vibe that you give them, right?
Yeah, I don't even remember if I said that on that webinar at the Carries, but that's truly it. Are you a talk show host or are you a newsreader? And a newsreader is so boring. I mean, they read the teleprompter and you can see their eyes moving and they're reading a script. And Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel, they might have some notes in front of them, but they're engaged with their clients or their guests. And they're just joking around and making fun of themselves all the time. And would you rather watch them or watch the guy on the 6 o'clock news? And the 6 o'clock news is failing. So you just got to use your personality. Everybody's got a good personality. Just use it to your advantage. That's what you do.
So how do you find their reason why they need this? What is kind of your way to ease into figuring out, what's
Yeah, and here's I tell them. I'll tell them right away. When we sit down at the table, I'll take the lead sheet and they're positioned in the locations where I want them. And I'll push the lead sheet over to them. And I'll say, what the heck did you mail this thing back for? Do you even have a clue? That might be my opening line to them after we're goofing off about pumpkins or whatever it is. Here's an example. I'm looking at this lead I printed out last night. This gal's in Laguna Beach. She's 58 years old. Her loan says $2.4 million, Laguna Beach, California. So when I have an appointment with this lady, am I really going to sell her $2.4 million worth of mortgage protection? Heck no. I'm going to ask her, what did you mail it in for? Do you even have a clue what you need? And they'll always say, no, I don't know. I go, well, I'm going to help you figure it out. I need to know why you even need this in the first place. Maybe you don't. That comment disarms them.
Totally.
Totally disarms them. Maybe you don't need it. I don't know. Tell me what you got. And then I'm into the ATM on the questions about them. What's their 401ks, their IRAs, all that kind of stuff. So I ask them deeply. It takes me 40 minutes to get to the point of why they need it. You can't do it in 6 seconds. You can't do it in 5 minutes. You can't do it in 10 minutes. If you go right to starting to give them prices about what's on the lead sheet, just leave, because you haven't figured out what they need it for and why they need it. And you got to keep asking questions until you get to that point where there's no more questions to ask and you know exactly what they need and why they need it. People buy what they need. And if the value exceeds the price, they all buy it. If the price exceeds the value, nobody buys it. It costs too much. You got to show them what makes sense to them. Then they buy it. It's kind of that simple. That's the job in the house. That takes me 45 minutes to get to that point. If you get to that point in 15 minutes, you didn't ask enough questions. You don't know enough about them.
I like how you made the analogy when you're booking an appointment. If you just go in to right immediately to go book the appointment, they're not going to book with you because they don't even know who you are and why you're calling. You're just trying to book the appointment. I like how you say, like even on the older leads, that the point of booking is a little bit further down than an A lead because you've got to, establish why they sent it in. It's very much the way you do it in the home. That whole part of just really working it out with them to make sure that you really understand why they sent it in and what they need. I love that whole concept. That's great.
Yeah, here's a good analogy because setting appointments and running in the home are exactly the same thing. And if you look at, let's say, a 5-minute phone appointment where you actually make the appointment and it takes 5 minutes, I don't set the appointment until like the 3.5 or 4 minute mark on an A lead. So that's 60%, 70% of the way through the phone conversation is when I set the appointment. If it's a lead that is older than an A lead, then it's maybe an 8-minute appointment. But I still don't set the appointment until 75% of the way through that, because you have to bring that person back to remembering why they ever sent it in the first place. So the comparison is on a phone appointment set, if you're setting the appointment at the 70% mark through your conversation, when you're in the home, if you're in there for an hour, you're going to set the appointment, which is equivalent to them saying, oh, I get it, I understand it, 70% of the way through your appointment. So if it's 1 hour, well, there's 42 minutes. 70% of 60 minutes is 42 minutes. I don't figure out what the people need until the 45-minute mark. It's the same thing. You have to date them for 45 minutes. You can't expect to get the kiss of the door in the 12th minute. It doesn't happen like that. You got to do it the right way. And it takes me 45 minutes to figure out why they need it and what they need. Not what they want, it's what they need. Big difference.
So in your mind, what is the difference?
Well, what they want is what's on the lead sheet. Everybody wants to cover, and this is the fallacy and the problem with most new agents. The lead says, here's the mortgage, $300,000, whatever it is. They want their mortgage covered. That's what they want. Well, maybe what they need is final expense insurance because they got $2 million worth of rental property and they don't need mortgage protection insurance. If you make an assumption that they need what's on the lead sheet, don't even go, because you're going to start quoting some price for what's on the lead sheet, and that's not what they need. That's what they want. You have to ask all the questions. What happens to your house if you die? What happens to your husband if you're dead and you lose the income? Where do your kids live? Do they have grandkids? Do they own homes? Are your kids going to move back with you if your husband dies? Are they going to help you out financially? You got to ask all those kind of questions to figure out what somebody needs, and then they're going to buy what they need. Maybe it's mortgage protection, a payment plan where they get 6 months worth of mortgage payments covered. They have to understand why they need that. And if it makes sense to them, then they buy it.
So when you
Most people don't need what's on the lead sheet. That's just the opportunity to call somebody. You should just Sharpie out whatever the dollar amount is on that lead sheet. That doesn't matter at all. I bet 1% of my applications actually match what the lead sheet says. And that's a coincidence. That's not a plan.
Yeah. So when you feel like you really got that figured out, how do you transition from that to figuring out how much it's going to cost and what they want and then writing it up?
Good question. Think about 1 hour, an hour in an appointment. I'm usually in there an hour and 15 minutes, but just say it's an hour so the math is easier and the percentages are easier. If you explain to somebody at the beginning and you take all the risk out of it for the client at the beginning, for instance, hey, I'm going to find out what you need, Alex and Ginny, and then I'm going to submit an application to an insurance company, and then they're going to figure out if you actually need it or you don't, or if you're going to get approved or whatever. Is that okay with you? That's how we're going to do it today. And they go, okay. So they bought it in the first 10 minutes. They don't even have a clue what they bought. They just agreed to the process. Then I'll say throughout, as she's looking at all of my pictures, it's just scrolling, I'll just say throughout, hey, you know what? It kind of looks like you need $62,000. This is what that's going to do for you. That makes sense, right? And they'll go, oh, I get it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Or $100,000 or whatever it is, or $50,000. I'll say, that's what you need right there. That's what you're going to get. Who's going to be your beneficiary? I assume it's going to be your kids, right? They go, yeah. Well, I just made the assumptive move from here's what you're going to get to they just bought it because they told me who the beneficiary is going to be. They don't even care what the price is. Because if they understand what it does for them, people don't care what the price is. They understand why they're getting it, and the price is incredibly secondary. So I don't tell anybody what the price is. I don't use the word quote. I just say, here's what it is, or that's it. You're getting that one. And I point to it, I go, that's the one you're going to get right there. And they just agree to it because it makes sense to them. I don't give them options. I spend enough time to figure out what they need. They assume so, what it is. An example. Last Friday, I had an appointment with a guy who's in the entertainment business. He's 49 years old. He makes $150,000. I don't even remember what his mortgage is. It doesn't matter, the loan amount. His wife is 64. He's 49. She's 64. She doesn't work. He's got $1 million of life insurance. What does he need any more of that for? I asked her. He's dead. He died last week on the set up at Warner Brothers. And you get $1 million. What are you going to do with it? She says, I'm going to pay off the house. I go, well, what do you need me for? What'd you mail it back for? I mean, you don't need me at all. She goes, well, no, I got enough money to pay off the house, but what if he doesn't die and he can't work? I go, oh, you're talking about disability. That's having a problem without dying. I'm going to fix that. She goes, okay, fix that. And I fixed it. It was $127 a month for disability. Now at 49 years old, Mr. Healthy, I looked at him. Now I'm going to give you another analogy. When you're in the supermarket and you go buy all your food and you're at the checkout line, what's next to you at the checkout line? Magazines and gum and candy bars. That's an impulse item. That's why they merchandise those at the checkout stand. So I'm at the house and I'm at the checkout stand. So she says, that disability totally makes sense. I get it. So I look at him. I'm at the checkout stand. I go, dude, you're 49. You're a mountain biker like me, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, so you croaked last week. Why'd you die? He goes, accident. I go, okay, well, I'm going to die of an accident. A mountain lion's going to eat me someday. That's how I'm dying. So you're going to die of an accident. I go, everybody in your situation gets an accidental death with return of premium. Get that. Just cover half your mortgage. He goes, that totally makes sense. So instead of him buying gum or a candy bar, he buys a add-on accidental death for $36 and totally understands what that will do for him and his wife if he dies. So that appointment, wearing Vans shorts and a t-shirt, is $160 a month because I figured out what they needed, not what they wanted. You just got to ask enough questions to figure it out.
I like how you said everyone who's in that situation gets this. You use that peer pressure thing, right? The peer pressure suggestion.
I do that all the time, Alex. You guys out there in Never Never Land, write it down. Write this sentence down and use this in every appointment. Do you know what everybody gets in your situation? And the client will always say, no. And you go, well, this is what the other guy got that has the same job as you. And you're going to get the same thing he gets because everybody gets that. So I'll say, do you know what every physician gets from me over 12 years? And they'll go, no. I go, well, they all get this product, which is an IUL. You're going to get that too. And they go, okay. Do you know what every felon gets from me? Felony is a big deal. You know what every felon's ever gotten from me? They get this one. They go, okay, I want that one too. Do you know what every grandpa gets from me for 12 years? Every grandpa's always gotten this from me. And what everybody gets in your situation, grandpa, they get this. Okay, I want that too. Because everybody wants to be like everybody else. And use that line. It's magic.
Oh, that's good stuff. I love it. Now, what I'm hearing is you've really gone through the school of experience. Like you found and gravitated to using your personality and discovering the things that are really, really working for you using your personality. And that's what I love about it, is that you just keep doing the same thing that you've discovered works over and over. So for example, you're sitting down like over time. So let's talk on base percentage versus, you're sitting in front of them. How many of the people you sit in front of on just ballpark over the course of a year, do you think that you write something up on them? 80%, 70%?
No, much higher than that.
Yeah.
Typically, here was my last trip in October. I had 22 appointments in 2.5 days. I work really hard for 2.5 days every 6 weeks on a trip like that, where I'll put on 1,200 miles. Okay, so 22 appointments. Those were all A leads. I probably had 40 A leads that built up over time. So those 22 appointments become 16 sits. 6 people will blow me off. I expect it. I don't care about it. Doesn't wreck my day. My goal on 22 appointments is to have 23 applications, one more than the total appointments for the weekend, regardless of what happens. If I do it right, I'll get 23. Well, those 22 appointments became 16 sits. Those 16 sits, one person did not buy from me. So of those 16, 15 people bought, one did not. Of those 15 that bought, I got 18 applications. So I doubled up in a house and I got some ERSs. So my goal was to have 23 and I got 18. Okay, I was disappointed. Well, oh well. I have another trip coming up. Don't look in the rearview mirror. So I will sell for sure, guaranteed most of the time, 90% of the people I sit with. If I don't, I either confused them or they didn't like me. That's the only reason people don't buy. And I believe that.
And so you ever run into someone who's they're totally loaded up with something? Like I get that from people, man, they had $1 million of life insurance and they didn't need mortgage protection. So what do you say to that, to people that say, well, they're fine without me? How are you able to find other stuff? Just by continuing to drill questions at them?
Absolutely. If you ask all the right questions that are in the ATM on the financial page, or you have pictures where you can talk about stories about people, everybody's got somebody that needs something. So let's just make one up. A guy's got a $250,000 mortgage and he's got $2 million worth of life insurance and he's got $1 million on his wife, and he mailed it in because he had no idea what it was all about. And I show up. I'm going to tell the guy, dude, you don't need anything from me. You got the balance sheet to kill for. People would love to have what you got. Good for you, man. You made great choices in your whole life. Yeah, and I got 2.5 grandkids. How many you got again? I'll already have known that. And he'll go, I got 3. Well, what's the age ranges? I had a newborn. So I have 3 grandkids. They age from 1 to 6. I think, honey, what are they? Oh, They're 0, 2, and 6. I go, well, man, you don't need anything. You got so much cash. Oh my God. Why don't you just set up your kids for college? Do you even know how to do that? And I go, no. Well, then I pull up a folder on my computer and say, well, look at all the people I've helped in college. There's all these PDFs of illustrations that I've said. I go, see what everybody does in your situation? You got tons of money. You got a great house. You're retired. You got all this stuff. Dude, set up your grandkids. Everybody wants that. That's what everybody does in your situation. And they go, okay. And then they do that because I found something that they need because I asked all the questions.
That's great. That is great.
You just can't leave and go, oh, thanks so much. And you're gone in 25 minutes. You didn't do it right.
Yeah.
You meaning the agent.
Right. Man. Well, I'll tell you what, we're at the end of our call, but for someone who's struggling out there and, they can't really get their mind right, like what are the things, you talked about listening to stuff all the time, starting your day off correctly. What's any last words of wisdom for these folks that are trying to get to where you're at?
You have to have a mentor. You can't do it on your own. Don't think you can do it on your own. This Power of Broke from Damon John, he says in there, you got to have a mentor. Andy's the mentor to everybody. Alex is the mentor to all of you. The people below Alex are the mentors to you. You have to use those people. And you have to practice all the time with a goal. And the more you practice, you new people out there, phone script is everything. It is. Your etiquette on the phone makes you money. You can't sound like a robot. And the only way you don't sound like a robot is to practice with people. So my agents call me all the time and I'll role play all night long. I don't really care because I don't really care that it takes that much time. You're not good right away. You just got to fail really fast a lot in the first week. Just expect it and just do the job. Make the phone calls. Know what the expectations are when you're calling. Know what the percentages are and just still do it. Like my Saturday of nothing working, and then last night everything worked. I'll be dialing today at 11 o'clock my time. It's 9:15. Am I going to make appointments? Heck yeah. Am I really going to make appointments for that 2-hour time slot? For sure. But what if I don't? Well, I'm gonna, because I'm confident about it. But new people out there, practice the phone scripts with your mentor until you can't do it anymore because it's 11 o'clock at night, and then do it again in the morning. That's the success. Don't lie to yourself. That's what you have to do. You got to listen to the audios and how it works and get really good at it really fast.
Dude, that's awesome. Doug, I appreciate it, man. You rock. And gang, you've heard it from one of the best, man. Been with us 12 years and consistently in the top of the producer leaderboard. Sells a lot of variety, what the client needs, right? So thanks, Doug, man. I appreciate it. You've been very much a blessing to all of us. Man, God bless your family. Enjoy your family over Thanksgiving holidays. And I know you're going to rock it on your trip. So God bless. My regards to your lovely wife. And right on, man. Rock on. You rock.
Hey, thanks for having me on here. I hope it helps somebody out there.
Well, you did. So awesome. Thank you, dude. Take care.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me on. See you later.
Okay. God bless everybody.